Yes, no more secrets, no more lies. It is time, yes, for the I and I to know truth. No more secrets, no more lies. Welcome, welcome, welcome to this satsang with Auset Mahat. I want to thank you tremendously for joining this satsang with Auset Mahat. Today I am going to be talking about consciousness. I'm going to be talking about Christ consciousness, Yeshua consciousness, Yahweh consciousness. What is Christ consciousness? Allah consciousness, Krishna consciousness. Because the I and I is very confused, and so therefore I would like to clarify for the I and I the difference between the consciousness, the device the I is wearing, the I, the real self. Alright? So, this is a gathering to seek truth. Alright? Are you a truth seeker? I don't understand why we can't dialogue, why we can't have conversations about these topics. Because anyone who are into any of these consciousness beings, they are locked into the ego, and they will not have a conversation with you about any of these consciousness beings because they don't want truth. They're not really a truth seeker. They just following a dogma and an ideology, you know? And so I want to address, the difference between all of these consciousness beings. Alright? So I am hoping that my voice is clear on this. Let me do this. Let me turn this down. 1 second. So yes, I am hoping that my voice is clear and loud. Um, and I and I can hear I. So please. So I want to say first. I want to say hail to the I Self Supreme Primal Light, non-being, unmanifest, one true self. All is myself, and I alone exist. Hail, hail, to I, the primal self, the primal light. Hail to I, the true light. Hail to I, the transparent light. Hail to I, the light throughout the ages. Hail to I, the light without beginning nor end. Hail to I, Self Supreme, Primal Light. I am Primal Light. I am the true light. I am that has no name. I am that can't be explained. I am Primal Light. I am the Primal Teacher Guru Self. I am eternal truth. I am the eternal self. I am the great supreme wisdom within. I am I great supreme intelligence within. I am I great supreme teacher guru self. Hail, hail to the I self supreme primal light. I want true self. I am victorious. I am triumphant. Victory, victory, victory. All is myself, and I am one with all. I alone exist. I bow to all in self, in light, and in truth. Much honor, much reverence. Thank you for your presence. Thank you so much for joining. No more secrets, no more lies. I want all I and I to know that all things hidden will be made known. All things done in secret will be revealed. All things created must be destroyed. This is the age of truth, and it's time for self responsible authority. Do not sit and wait to do the things that you can do for yourself and wait for the I self to come and do it for you, because you are the self in this body, and each and every aspect of the I self is given a responsibility. And so we must play our role. We cannot sit and wait when all the things that need to be done, we are supposed to do it as we are wearing the body as the human beings. So do not sit and just watch injustice. Do not sit there and be hungry and thinking that you need money when you need food, right? We have been tricked into these things. All right? So it's time for self responsible authority. Do the things that you can do while you are in this body. And all the I and I self that is not wearing a body, it's doing their role to restore balance to I. So we each must play our part. Okay? This says the I self, the one true self. So much honor to all the I and I's for joining I. So I am Primal Light, and in this shattered fractal self, wearing this body as Auset Mahat. And so today I am bringing awareness to the so that one can differentiate between the ego and the self, because one of the main problem that ones are having is the confusion with the ego and thinking that the ego is the real self. All right, so what is the ego and what is the self? Well, how do you differentiate between the two, right? What is consciousness? Christ consciousness, Krishna consciousness, Allah consciousness, Yeshua consciousness, Yahweh consciousness. Gonna talk about all of that. What is duality and non-duality? Gonna talk about worshiping of all of the dualities, the devils, Satan, gods, the deities, angels, archangels, ancestors, Lucifer, etc. Gonna talk about existing as the ego false self, the dream character. Also about being when one is being possessed by the crazy duality called the spirits. What to do if one is being possessed by a spirit, and what is the cause of suffering and mental sickness. All right, so let's look at the the consciousness, right? The consciousness, I want to make something clear. Consciousness, Christ consciousness, Krishna consciousness, Allah consciousness, Yeshua consciousness, Yahweh consciousness, whatever the name that comes before the consciousness, I want you to know that this is the same consciousness, just with a different avatar. And all of these dualities, they are sleeping and they are entranced in the dream, and they are also entrancing you inside of this dream. Alright? So, it's time for the I and I to stop being tricked by the consciousness. Right? So, let's take a look on this duality, right? What is duality? This world is built in duality. Let me make this pretty clear. We are living in a duality world, in a world built inside a dream. Yes, this is a dream, imagination, creation. What is duality? Duality is the obscuring of the light to enter the sleeping, dreaming state. Right? The I self has made a device called the consciousness from its self replica. Right? Its self consciousness. It has made a device from its self consciousness and has obscured the light. So this device, the consciousness, light is being obscured. Alright? And so it goes into the sleeping, dreaming state. Everyone who wears this consciousness, the consciousness put them in a trance and put them in a sleep. This is what's happening. Duality is the I as the dream existence. Right? So this consciousness is in duality because it's in the sleeping, dreaming state. The I self is in duality because the I self is sleeping and being entranced by the I mind, this device the I is wearing. So let's talk about the forces of this duality. There are two forces of energy that governs this duality. One force is the chaos, while the other force is the balance. The force that is the chaos is the I self that sleeps and has lost all self awareness. Kind of like when someone is drunk and their eyes are open and they go about ranting and being ranting and being very destructive. Being drunk allows them to lose their self awareness, right? And they can't remember the horrible things that they have done while they are in the drunken stupor state, right? So, because you see, when ones are drunk, they have no self awareness, they behave poorly, they have no good self judgment, right? This is what is happening when the I goes to sleep. The I is in a drunken state. On the other hand, the force that is balanced is the I self that is awake and self aware, that is monitoring and creating a way to neutralize and balance the chaos to restore harmony inside the dream. The I self, the real, the eyewitness, and sometimes victim of the chaos, can testify of the state of the absence of light and self ignorance and what happens when one loses self awareness. The I real self is working tirelessly to restore balance to I. So we're having duality versus the non duality. Because, like I said, there's these two forces of energy. One is the I self that sleeps, the other is the I self that does not go to sleep, the I self that is not wearing this consciousness. Any of the I self that is wearing the consciousness goes to sleep and do not know the real and have no self awareness. This is the problem, right? Duality, the ego versus the self. This is the battle that we have to endure in this duality existence. Within duality, we have two pairs of opposing forces, two invisible forces that governs the world. You must choose to do the right thing, which is to liberate the I self from the sleeping, dreaming state of self ignorance. This ego consciousness is always fighting against the self in this duality. In this duality, there is always a conflict. Like I said, these two forces of opposing forces of the I self, right? So we have the self, the shattered, fragmented states of the proton, the dark matter, versus the neutron, the black energy. We have the magnetic versus the electrical self. We have the dream versus the real, the ego false selves, and the clone selves versus the real pure self. We have the spirit versus the soul. We have the gods fighting against the self. We have darkness versus the light. We have evil versus good, right versus wrong, chaos versus harmony and balance. This is what we are up against into this duality. And so we always have to choose. So now I am asking, what will the I choose? Because we have to come into this realization that we are in this duality existence where these opposing force is in constant battle, and the I self in the real, it working tirelessly to restore balance to the I, and the ego is fighting the self, does not want for balance to be restored. So what is non-duality? Non-duality, there is only the one true pure self. Non-duality is the I ultimate true state, how to make balance between the I manifesting as these two forces. Remember, the two force is the I self. In one self, the I is in the I real state. In the second force, the I is wearing a device created by the I parent self that puts the I into a sleeping, dreaming state because of the sleeping, dreaming consciousness that the I is wearing, right? So this battle has been going on since the beginning of this duality. So how to end this battle? The the ego fighting against the self, the consciousness fighting against the self. How does one end this battle? Right? There is this battle that is going on constantly. The dream versus the real, right? So to clarify again, duality is the dream, non-duality is the real, right? All of the I self that is playing the duality existence has no light. Their light has been obscure and they are sleeping. The self are sleeping. The mind, the consciousness is sleeping and dreaming, and everyone is wearing this mind, right? All the self replicas of the self, the real self, becomes the duality. Also, all the human beings are in duality because everyone is given a replica of this duality consciousness, the sleeping, dreaming mind. When one comes inside of the dream, you have to wear it to participate into the dream existence, right? This is what is happening. So all of the self that is wearing this duality consciousness becomes the consciousness beings. And this is where the one rise up from. You know, the Christ consciousness is the mind of Ra, right? When she is in that duality state, it's also the mind of Set, who plays the role as a devil. So when you are worshiping and giving, honor, you are giving honor to evil. You know, um, all the evil thing the I is doing in this duality state, in this supreme ego state. Also, the Christ consciousness, the Krishna consciousness, Allah consciousness, Yeshua consciousness, Yahweh consciousness. All of these consciousness beings are what? They are in a sleeping, dreaming state, and they have no self awareness because their light is being obscured by the consciousness. They become the consciousness being and they do not know the truth. Alright? So, we have each aspect of the self that is playing these roles. The I want true self makes a baby self, right? This baby self now remains the pure self and then but makes a self replica. This self replica becomes the duality, right? Because now it is wearing the consciousness. Now, this baby self of the one true self now makes a baby self, which becomes the primordial light. This is when the the first the aspect of the self becomes the light that we can see, and it's unmanifested, right? It is this black energy, what the supermassive, what they call the supermassive black holes, right? Because all of the self, they rise as a black hole in different levels because they are babies of their their parent self. So each of the self is making a baby of itself. That baby makes a self replica that becomes the duality. Because what the self is doing is not going to take itself, the real, and make a duality of it. It's making a replica of itself, and each self replica becomes the duality. So the primordial light makes a self replica and makes a baby self. That baby self makes a self replica. The primordial light self replica is becomes the primordial darkness, which is known in the world as Lucifer, and there comes the Lucifer consciousness. So every one of these dualities, they are known as whatever their name is plus the consciousness, because they are wearing the avatar of the mind. And so because of this, now all of them are sleeping. All of these selves are sleeping, and they are only into the mind, the ego, 100%. So I want to demonstrate and show you right here, so that all of those um characters that you are calling on, that they are all sleeping and they do not know the real. They are not the real, and they have been tricking the ionized, and you're getting them confused with the real self, the ones who are the real and in the non-duality, right? So the best way to not be confused by the ego false selves is to call on yourself, your real self that has always been with you, that we know in the world as the soul self, right? That's your real self. That is the baby self of Aten Ra, primal light Aten Ra, and her masculine self, Amen. All the feminine are rising from Aten Ra, all the masculine self are rising from Amen, right? So know that once you come into the world, you're given a replica, right, of the consciousness, so that you can explore, so that you can participate, so that you can also create. Alright? So everyone that's wearing this duality consciousness, they goes into what? The sleeping, dreaming state. Their light becomes obscure because why? The consciousness has no light. All right. So, all of the cells that rise, this is how they are creating. Each of them becomes a level, what we call in the world, we call them realms or we call them dimensions. So each of the selves are stacked inside of each other. The real self becomes the screen on which its duality self creates the dream, and we are stacked now. For us, our world is here, is this one, and we are now at the bottom of all of the selves because we are the smallest of all of the selves, and we are all stacked in all these layers is a dream. And so now, from the outer layer, the one true self, always never sleeping, always unaware. The second layer, its baby self, that becomes the screen that never sleeps, always in awareness. But within that self, it's the duality, it's self replica that is creating in duality. And it becomes the screen, just like a movie screen that a movie is being outplayed on. All of the selves themselves become the screen on which their duality selves creates their duality existence. So now, from the outer level of the selves, is going to come all the way to us where we are right now. It's starting from here so that it is changing from duality, returning back to non-duality. So all of these selves, they are waking up, and now they are returning back to non-duality. They are returning back to their one true pure self. All of these selves are doing so. All right? So this is what is happening. All the I in duality is now merging as one. These are the stockpiles of self. All the selves are inside of each other. And so we are inside of the I parent self that is sleeping and dreaming of this existence. And so when all of these selves come awake, come all the way down to us, then it's going to be the time for all of us inside of this world to also come awake. This is what is happening right now. So, let's delve a little deeper into what is consciousness. Right now that we have explained how the cells are fractalized, and each self is making a baby of itself, then it makes a self replica, right? Remember that the consciousness is being created as a device to create the imagination creation, right? What is consciousness? Consciousness is an illusionary state, the state of sleeping and dreaming. This consciousness is a device that I wear to create the dream existence. So the I is wearing a what? Consciousness, the device. Consciousness is blind because its light is being obscured. Remember that this world is a dream. The I and I is inside the mind of Ra. She is creating this world in her body, and we are inside her body. Everything is taking place in her mind. She's using her body to be the world. This duality consciousness was created when Aten Ra took particles from her masculine self, Amen, to create the non-dual consciousness, then made a self-replica of her non-dual consciousness, which she gives to her self-replica Ra, who is given the destiny to be the duality world. Ra is creating this world through her sleeping, dreaming mind. This is called the Christ consciousness, is the mind of Ra. So I just want everyone to know this, because many ones are so confused about what the Christ consciousness is. It is the mind of Ra tricking everyone so that it can keep them entranced inside the dream. Stop seeking consciousness and join union with the I self, called a soul. The soul knows the truth. This consciousness is a liar and a great deceiver. The consciousness is the device that I put on to participate in the dream creation. When you remove this consciousness, this ego off of the I self, you will know this truth. So all the I and I's have to know this about this consciousness. Alright? So Christ consciousness, Krishna consciousness, these are all the I self that are in the sleeping dreaming state. Yeshua consciousness, you know, they're tricking the eye is getting caught up into the trickery of the mind. What is the ego? Ego is the impure duality mind that arises as a result of the obscuring of the light. So as you can see that the ego is what is known as the consciousness, right? The consciousness is known as the supreme ego, which is the mind of Ra. And the ego now just becomes the mind that everyone wears. So the mind is called the ego because to become the ego, when the light becomes obscure in the consciousness, this is how it becomes the supreme ego, because the obscuring of the light creates an insatiable yearning and longing into the consciousness, because now its light become obscure and it has no light, and the consciousness and the light is indivisible. And because the obscuring of the light now creates a sickness into the mind and an impurity into the mind, and this is the reason why we are in this predicament that all of humanity is in, and this mind is tricking us, and ones do not want to see this truth because they are believing everything their mind tell them to do. And my mission is to get everyone to see that the roots of our problem stems from this mind. It is the supreme ego. Alright? So the obscuring of the light, this allows the consciousness to go into a sleeping, dreaming state. Now the consciousness have no awareness of itself, its real self. So what it does, it creates an ego false self. Because the self sleeps and creates a world in its imagination. This is what is happening, that I am the self, I have a mind. I am using this mind, this device, to create an imaginary creation, a fantasy world. Now, because there's no light, this mind has gone berserk. Alright? In the sleeping, dreaming state, this mind, this consciousness has no awareness. Consciousness is the mind of Ra and has tranced and enslaved her, the self, in the dream, just like it has done to everyone, all of us that comes into the dream. Ra, she gives us a replica of her mind, this consciousness. When she gives us a replica of her consciousness, the consciousness obscure us, and this is when it puts us into sleep, and this is how we end up in the sleeping, dreaming state. So, the I and I exist as a baby ego, while the gods, they are the supreme ego, because we also have ourself, called the soul, the real self, that makes us pure and keeps us balanced, while the gods, they are 100% ego, and they do not have their light on. So, let me emphasize that you are God, you are the ego false self, when the I and I the real self wears the consciousness. See, everyone who's wearing this consciousness, they fall into sleep and trance by the mind. I and I is participating in the world now as the baby consciousness. I hope everyone understands this because there's a lot of confusion because of this mind. As the baby mind, I want everyone to know that this is the truth and this is the real. This has been my experience. This has been how the self explains things to I. And because I am experiencing this with the consciousness daily, this is why I know this to be so. Alright? So, the I is wearing this duality consciousness, put the I to sleep. All human beings are only exploring the world as the ego, but some are exploring as 50% because the self soul is light is on, while others they are exploring as 100% ego because they rise inside of the dream. If you rise in the dream as the clone self, as them you become the mind avatar and not the self avatar. All right, so when we first came in as the self and we was given the consciousness to put it on, we came in as the self avatar. We did not rise inside as a clone, as the mind avatar. So this is the difference between the selves that has a soul and the self that are the clones. Alright? So, ego is the first God. I want everyone to understand this. Ego is the first God. This consciousness became the first God because of the sleeping, dreaming state. Right? The dream characters, alright, are all the I and I that is sleeping and becomes the ego false self. Consciousness, the supreme ego, exists as 100% ego, right? And its light is being obscure. And when the I is wearing this consciousness, it obscures the I light, the sun. This supreme ego steals and enslaves the I self, called a soul. Ego fills the I and I with fear, so one will not challenge it. I and I must face the ego and dissolve it. So, but many ones don't really want to face the ego. They don't really want to know truth. They want to continue with their dogmas and their superstitions and their beliefs, but they don't really want to know. They're not real truth seekers, and I can understand because, many of them rise in the dream. So does God exist? Yes, God exists. Many of them. What is God? Remember I said that God is what? Is the I self. It's you in the supreme ego form. The problem with human beings is that they are separating themselves because they are exploring in a body and God is not wearing a body. But it's all the I self in exploring in different forms, right? Playing different roles. And ones are thinking that God is righteous, and it is just not so. God exists as the I in the sleeping, dreaming state, using the I imagination to create a duality dream world, a fantasy world. God exists as the diabolic force enslaving I inside a dream creation. Yes, this is the creation of God. God is creating this world. But I want to ask, can the I trust the I sleeping, dreaming self called God? Can you really trust God? Ones are thinking that they can trust God. They can trust their sleeping, dreaming self. And this is the problem why the eyes loop into so much confusion and do not know the truth and do not want to stand up to God. You have to be able to stand up to God and stand up to the ego who has enslaved you inside of a dream. God is the dreamer and is a dream character without any light, whose light is being obscure. Therefore, God seek the I wherein body to enslave the I real self, called a soul. God is a trickster. All of them. There are many of them. Like I said, all the I, right? All the I and I's who are wearing this duality consciousness, they now becomes this ego false self and they're now into the God self, right? All evil arise from God. Can I trust the dreamer? So many ones they don't want to believe this because why? They they want to think that God is good and they want to believe so much in God, but they're just being confused by the mind. The difference between, remember I tell you this is duality where the God is fighting against the self, the dream is fighting against the real. You have all of these things happening, but do you really want to know the truth? Or you just want to continue to follow blindly? And so you are God because of the state that you are in. Your real self is entranced in the dream by its mind, and it is cocooned in the magnetic energy, and the mind creates itself an avatar. And now everyone is walking around in this avatar, and they're thinking that this avatar is real and it is themselves. And this is the confusion why ones are refusing to seek truth, right? What does God mean? God means that you explore the world in the mind avatar while your real self sleeps and your light is being obscure. So I want to make this clear because I advocate for myself and I am here to speak truth. And all who don't like it, too bad. Gods are evil because you don't want to believe that God is creating this world and creating evil in the world. Why isn't the world balanced if God was so balanced and good? God do not know how to create balance. God is only creating chaos. God is creating this world. Yes, it is the I self. Why is this world not balanced? Why is this mind so sick? Why is there so much evil? Why? If you want to know truth, you have to ask these questions. God tell you, even in the Bible that everyone is quoting from, some verses in there will tell you that God is telling that He's creating evil, He's creating chaos and all these things. But why you don't want to believe that? Why you don't want to believe it? So many don't like when I say this. They get very upset and all of these things. That when I'm saying that you are thinking that the dream and the dream characters are the real and you're holding attachment to these characters when you're supposed to just seek yourself. There's a big difference with yourself and the dream characters, right? Because we can see many ones coming in bodies and then after a while they disappear. We don't see them. Those characters are gone, right? But we like to hold on to these characters and they are just deceiving us. But no one wants to stand up to God. But I am here to stand up to all of the gods them. There's not just one. One are being deceived now. Everyone is now calling on um, Yeshua consciousness, Yahweh consciousness, Krishna consciousness, Christ consciousness, Allah consciousness. They are all gods, the supreme ego characters deceiving the I. They are deceiving you. Why are they deceiving you? They are tricksters. Why? Because they all want something that you have. yourself, your real self called a soul, this is what they all want. Why do they want it? Because it is the only real in this dream. You are so powerful that all of these so-called gods that you are calling on, they want yourself, but you don't want it. You are putting it in slavery. No, call yourself back, soul back into this body and be yourself. This is what the mission that I need to be on. God is thoughts. The reason why we're confused is because this God is thoughts. Imagination, this ego, magnetic energy, the proton, the dreamer. So God hijack your mind and takes over and give you thoughts and program you, and so you cannot know truth. This is why I keep emphasizing stillness and castrating the ego. If you don't castrate the ego, you're never going to know truth, because it is what is preventing you from knowing truth. I want to show you. So, like this, the I self, this is the duality consciousness, right? Behind it is the I self. The light is being obscure, right? You have the consciousness and you have yourself. It's like a coin, right? You on one side, the mind on one side. You are being obscure. This mind has to be pulled off of you, so you no longer are have this consciousness that is guiding and leading you, but no, you existing like this. The self rise up when you call your soul back into your body, right? When you call your soul back into your body, the self pulls this mind, this consciousness off of you, right? This the mind goes to one side, to the right side. The self moves to the left side, and the void comes between. So now you're able to know truth, because you're no more being obscure. No longer are you being obscured by your mind like this, right? When you are, let me get it closer up there. See, when you are being obscured by your mind, this is how you are. This is the consciousness is leading and guiding, and the self is being sleeping behind in a trance, right? But when you call for yourself, the soul, and the soul rise, the teacher inside rise up and pull this ego. This ego can no longer stay precedence over you. It pulls the ego off, pulls it to the right side, and then the void comes between to buffer between you, the self, and the consciousness, so it can no longer put you into a sleep, into a trance. And then you become existing like this. This is how then you will know truth. But this is if the I want to know truth, right? You have to castrate this ego, right? This is the only way the I is going to know truth. Castrate this ego. What is God? This God is dark matter. God is the proton being obscured. The light is being obscured, and it's in a sleeping, dreaming state. God is all mind, illusion. God is the supreme ego mind being. God is the duality consciousness. If you are exploring the world as the mind being, the ego false self, then you are God. So I want to make this clear for all the I and I to know that. Alright? So, oh yeah, like I just explained just now, where is my mind? Many want to know where their mind is. So the mind and the self exist like a coin. On one side is the mind, and on the other side, right? The mind, and the other side is the self being obscure. Alright? Um, because the self sleeps, this is what we know in the world as the spirit self that animates the body. When the self comes into the body, it is spread out throughout the body and operates the body from the head, the brain. The mind is the supreme ego and is sleeping and dreaming. The mind, the ego, is obscuring the self and has taken precedence over the self. The mind is thought, imagination, manifestation, false perception, magnetic, protons, aspect to the dream creation. And this is how the I is moving into this dream creation and creating everything is through the mind, right? This is the magnetic proton aspect of the I self. The mind is the sleeping, dreaming baby consciousness. We used to explore this dream creation. The I and I is using the mind to participate in the dream. Alright? But I want I and I to remember to chant this affirmation. I am not this sleeping, dreaming mind. I am not this body. Where is the I self? Do you know where your self is? The I self is being obscure behind the mind. Alright? This mind, this ego, this consciousness. So let's talk a little bit about what are the detrimental ramifications of this duality, being in a duality existence. We have sick delusional mind, we have a lot of mind control, we have the ego false selves, the dream characters who think that they are real. We have a lot of delusions. We have evil on all planes of existence. This is as a result of the duality, the sleeping, dreaming state that the I is in. We have the self-soul slavery. We have worshiping of gods. We have worshiping of idols, worshiping of the dream characters. We have mental slavery. We have, instead of removing the ego, to dissolve the ego false self, to awake from the dream, everyone is busy worshiping their ego, the supreme ego. Right? We have a lot of atrocities as a result of the duality. We have a lot of human sacrifices to the gods. We have a lot of killing in the world. We have a lot of rape and sodomy and all these atrocities. We have false self-identification. And this is all as a result of this duality. We have ignorance of the I self because all the I and I is identifying as all of these dream characters, and the I do not know truth, and the I do not know the real. The I is very confused because of this duality state the I is in. Alright? So, and it's only for the ones who are the truth seekers, because many ones, they have no interest in truth. They want to follow ideologies, beliefs, and dogmas. And this is the problem that we are having. Detrimental ramifications of duality. Alright? Want I and I to be aware of this, that God is always dishing out punishments. The supreme ego characters are always wanting to punish the I. Why? God is the invisible sinister force with negative intent, manipulating the dream world with malice and hatred towards the I. The I must now seek to know why there is evil and mental sickness in the world. It's all because of these duality characters called the gods. And they love to come into your body to confuse you and to fill your mind with negative thoughts, with homosexuality, with sexual things. This is what they love to do. What is at the root of evil? Why don't anyone want to ask, why is this world like this? And I just don't understand. Like, no one wants to ask these real questions. What is at the root of evil? How did things get to be this way? All these supreme ego characters, they love to give punishment and curses. This is what they do. Do you want to be ruled under tyranny by God? Do you want to continue to be ruled under tyranny by God? Or do you want to liberate yourself from slavery, false imprisonment, from rape, from sodomy, from mind control? The age of ignorance is over, and it's time to denounce all gods and come to self-knowing. I dissolve all gods. I dissolve all supreme ego characters reigning tyrannically over I. I liberate myself from all slavery and mind control and false imprisonment. They love to come into this body and show you imagery and take over your mind and give you a lot of negative thoughts, allowing many ones to do a lot of crazy things in the world. It's time now that one start paying attention to this mind. This is the problem in the world, this mind. Yes, this duality, I and I, is seeing from false perceptions. What are the forces that is governing this duality world? Why doesn't one want to ask these questions? I don't understand. Did you know you're a prisoner inside a dream? Under self-slavery, soul slavery, mind, mental slavery. The time is now. Time to lose attachment to all these dream characters called the gods. The deities, ancestors, the angels, the archangels, the Christ, the consciousness, Allah consciousness, Yahweh consciousness, Krishna consciousness, Yeshua consciousness. It's time now. They are all false. It's time to end soul slavery. The age of God rulership is over. Now is the age of truth and self-knowledge. It's time to dissolve the ego, the false self, the false belief, all your dogmas, religions, superstitions, spirituality, and false perceptions. It is time to know truth. I want all I and I to know that this ego has stolen the I identity of the self. And this is why everyone is in false self-identity. The ego has stolen the self-identity and is impersonating the self and telling lies. And this is the problem why everyone is believing in those characters called Yahweh consciousness, Christ consciousness, Allah consciousness, Krishna consciousness, Yeshua consciousness. Any one of them that ends in those consciousness, I want you to know that they are a deceiver. They are stolen the self-identity and is deceiving the I. What is the real and what is the dream? Why don't I want to ask these questions? What is the truth? And what are the lies? It is time to get to the root of our problem. What is at the root of our problem? All beings are doing everything their mind tells them to do. It is quite evident that there's something wrong with the mind you are wearing. Stop doing everything your delusional mind tells you. You are believing everything your mind tells you is truth. This mind is the agent of ignorance and confusion. There should be a stillness and self-inquiry mind healing center in every community, a place where one can come to ease the burden of the mind and learn mind training techniques. It's time to heal this mind. Families can come together and bring their family members when they are hearing voices and are doing erratic things. Let us rehabilitate our citizens and not criminalize them. I want all I and I to know that all things created must come to an end. We are inside of a creation into a duality world. Why is there suffering into this world? Suffering exists so one can be deprived and must call on God to give them things in the dream. Because if everyone have abundance, then no one is calling on God to help them. Right? One have the time to know truth. Just like how poverty exists because human beings are evil and power hungry and just like their gods, they do not love to share. They all want everything for themselves because they are in the ego, false self. And they don't want to know truth. Suffering and poverty keeps one entranced inside of this dream. One is immersed in one's survival inside this dream imaginary play world. One will not devote time to questioning the truth of this existence. Who am I? Am I really sleeping and imagining all this? One doesn't have the time to do this because God keep everyone in here chasing after dream things. God wants to keep you sleeping and not asking real questions. It's time to rise now. It's time for the real. Because the I self is here to dissolve all gods and to restore balance to the I self. All of these gods, they love to give punishment and curse. If you read that book called the Bible, you hear how much punishment they want to give ones and how much curse they are putting on ones. God is always dishing out punishments. The supreme ego characters, they always want to punish the I. Why? God is the invisible sinister force with negative intent, manipulating the dream world with malice and hatred towards the I. The I must seek to know why there is evil and mental sickness in the world. What is at the root of evil? How did things get to be this way? This supreme ego. All of these gods love to give punishment and curses. Do you want to be ruled under tyranny by God? The age of ignorance is over. It's time to denounce all gods and come to self-knowing. I dissolve all gods. I dissolve all dream, supreme ego characters reigning tyrannically over I. I liberate myself from all slavery and mind control. Many ones are very confused because of this consciousness. Is God good and balanced? This is the problem. Ones are thinking that God is good and balanced. Many want you to believe that God is not evil. God has always been sick and delusional. God hijack your body and torture you, and no one wants to listen to what you have to say. They already say you are crazy. The invisible force that governs this world hates us, the real self. They love the clones they have created who serve them and imprison the I self, called a soul. Wake up from the bed of your ignorance. Your mind is holding you a prisoner inside the dream of God. God is sleeping and dreaming up this illusionary world. Time to dissolve this dream. I dissolve this dream. You think that you can really trust the dreamer called God? I want I to remember that this world is a dream. The I is sleeping and dreaming. This is all in the I imagination. All of these duality is the I, as a sick, demented mind, invisible beings. I want the I to remember that all is the I playing all of these roles. And many have always known that there are sick, demented beings that sometimes come into the body to torture and influence one in doing evil things to another. And many one thinks it knows everything, like these scientists and all of these spiritualists and religiousists. They are arrogant and dismissive of your experience because they don't want to know truth either. They say you are schizophrenic. Yes, but why are you behaving this way? When one of them come in your body and you're trying to tell one that, hey, one of the gods are here, they're doing this. Nobody wants to say, oh, look into what you're saying. Now they start calling you crazy. So I want to say, for all the I and I's wearing human bodies, stop exploiting the I and I. Stop spreading your propaganda and your dogmas and your lies. The ego always wants to see suffering and revenge. The I Self Supreme One, true pure self, unmanifest is here to dissolve the dream and all the dream characters the Supreme Ego Consciousness has created. The I is not here to cause judgment nor suffering unto itself in ignorance. All is I in a myriads of form. Yes, I Self Supreme Primal Light is battling with the I selves that are in duality. All the I selves that are wearing this ego, this Supreme Ego Consciousness, and becomes the ego false self. The I self is fighting to remove this costume and mask from its sleeping self that is entranced inside of the dream. Why? Because they are creating evil and they are tricking everyone and entrancing one in the dream. Their light must be restored back onto the mind of Ra, the feminine and her masculine self set. They are the duality world, and this duality world will end, which means Ra will awake from sleeping and dreaming state. Her mind is sleeping and dreaming. Her mind, the consciousness, the Christ consciousness, will awake from sleeping and dreaming state. Ra, she is creating this world inside of her dream. We are inside her dream. All the dream characters that her mind created has imprisoned the I and the I, real self, inside of this dream. All souls are free. All cells are free. It's time to turn the I light on. All is myself, and I am one with all. I am that I am. So I want to advise all the I and I, stop calling on gods, angels, archangels, and all these deities, all these dualities. All these supreme ego characters, they only come to steal the I self, called the soul. These ego false self duality beings, they spread propagandas and lies. They have made you think that you were not enough, that you needed their assistance, that your soul was not powerful enough. Do you know who you are? Do you know how powerful you are? They have tricked you so that they can use your light and you stay in darkness. If you, the self soul, was not powerful enough, then why do they all seek it? The I, the real self soul, is the most important thing in this dream illusionary world. Because the I, guru, teacher self, arise from the self to help the I. It's time for stillness and self-inquiry. Time to denounce all ties to these dream illusionary characters and remove your ego mask to unveil the I real self. It's time to know and be the I real self. Stop calling on Christ consciousness, Krishna consciousness, Allah consciousness, Yeshua consciousness, um, Yahweh consciousness. I mean, all of the consciousness, they are all the mind, the supreme ego. Right? I want to clarify this. I am that I am. For that which I seek, I am already that. Why are you not seeking yourself that you already are? What is the disguise that obscures me so that I do not know myself? It is this mind, this consciousness that the eye is wearing is obscuring you. That's why you are so confused. You do not know truth. And you do not want to ask. And you are afraid. It's time to stand up to the mind. Time to stand up to these gods and all these characters. It's time for the eye to engage in a healthy self-expression and mindful creation. Stop acting out the craziness from your mind and learn how to still your mind. Mind, you are a deceiver and you suffer from delusion. Mind, return to purity and truth. I want I and I to know that light must be turned back on in this mind. This mind, right? Mind, wake up from the sleeping, dreaming state. Wake up, mind, wake up. You are sleeping and this is your dream. Wake up. So I want the I and I to be keeping in awareness what are healthy self-expressions and mindful creation. Make sure that every time you're expressing yourself, you find a healthy way to express yourself. The things that you are creating, make it be mindful, make it be in balance and harmony with the I self and with all of existence. Stop creating destructive things that is destroying the environment and destroying others, right? How do the I express the I self in a healthy expression? I want I and I to remember this and keep this in the awareness. It's time to question the I one true self. Who have the I been asking question? You read some book, you read more books, you listen to dogmas, but have you been questioning yourself, the real self? Why the I and I have so much confusion? Is because you have been getting your information from the wrong source, from all these supreme ego characters. So here are some questions that I and I need to be asking, right? Why the I and I don't know the I self? The I is confusing the I self with all the dream characters. Why are we so confused about our self identity? What is the path to finding the I and I self? Why is this mind so devious? It's time to heal this delusional mind. What are the detriments and ramifications of duality and the dangers of the mind? Why is the mind always telling the I bad things? Why is the mind always looped in memory and wild imaginations? How do I control my mind? How do I cultivate my mind? How do I have a balanced mind? Why is the mind so crazy? It's time for the I to turn these questions to the I self so that the I can get some real answers. Remember that this mind is thoughts, memory, imagination, and very habitual. So be mindful of the habits that you are picking up. Don't smoke, don't drink alcohol, don't do all of these crazy things. Be mindful of the food you put in your body because These egos that are creating these food, they don't care about you. They want to give you poison to eat, right? Be mindful of your thoughts. Bring your mind to stillness. Why must the eye practice mind stillness? Because the mind is a tainted baby consciousness. The mind is tainted with impurities, memory replay, sick imagination. It is prone to mental sickness. Everyone in this world is suffering from some form of mental sickness and destructive ideologies that instigate cruel actions, and many ones are acting upon the delusions that arise from their mind. This mind is very deceptive and does not know the truth about the self. Every evil begins in the mind before it is acted out in the world. Stillness purifies the eye mind. Stillness arises, the supreme teacher within, to pull this ego off of the eye, the baby self, call a spirit. I just want the eye to remember this. Now, here are the reasons why this duality consciousness must be dissolved. Consciousness is a dream creation device. Now, let me repeat that again. Consciousness is not yourself. Let me say that. Consciousness is not yourself. It is a dream creation device. It's a device created so that I can make a dream imagination creation world. Right? This is a creation device. It's created from Amen, who is the self-consciousness and masculine self of the I as Aten Ra, the feminine, and the I parent self. Aten Ra and Amen, they are our parent self. Right? All of the ones in here wearing bodies. We have the parent self of Aten Ra and Amen. Alright? All the feminine arise from Aten Ra, and all the masculine self arise from Amen. I want everyone to know that this consciousness has trained the I to be okay with suffering and the existence of evil. And this is why many ones are so comfortable in this suffering. They believe that they must suffer because God has put everyone in suffering, and only is choosing people he give things to in his dream world. The age of ignorance and following the path of this dream is ending. It's time for one to dissolve this ego and return to truth. Now that I must turn inward to the I self called a soul and be yourself. Stop seeking dream characters and holding attachment to these characters. They are the ones that have been holding the I, imprisoning this dream. This is the reason why the I have so much confusion. All because of this consciousness. One is holding to this consciousness like crazy. Christ consciousness. Oh, I'm worshiping Krishna consciousness, Allah consciousness, Yeshua consciousness, Yahweh consciousness. If it ends in a consciousness, believe me, it means that it is the same mind playing tricks on you in a sleeping, dreaming state, deceiving everyone. Why don't we all know the truth? Why is there so much confusion if this consciousness was real? This consciousness is deceiving everyone. And so I am calling for the consciousness to wake up because it is in a sleeping, dreaming state. All the ionize, you too, you're all sleeping, including the I self that is this dream existence. We are so many layers inside of a dream. And when we are inside of the dream, we go to sleep inside of the dream. And many ones, they don't want to ask any questions. They don't want to know truth. And so I am calling for the I sleeping self Ra to wake up, to sleep no more. Because it is her mind, the consciousness, that, and which is the moon. And tonight is a full moon, and there's going to be some solar flares happening. So I want everyone to be aware, to be vigilant, to be practicing stillness, during this time. All right. I'm calling for liberation from sleeping, dreaming states. It's time for the all I and I to know truth and stop being afraid. Why don't you want to talk about God? Why everyone is so always afraid and taboo to talk about God? Yeah, because God has been punishing one for eons, and now it's time for that to stop. I have no allegiance to God. I am here to stop God from the evil that God has been doing, because no one wants to stand up to God, but I am here to stand up to God. So I have no fear. I am here to stand up to God. You don't know how powerful you are if you be yourself, your soul. This is why God has always been tricking everyone not and wanting their soul. Because when God imprison your soul, you don't have it. So you don't have your power. Your soul is your real self and is your power. Because I realized this, I became my real self. So I stand up to God. Yes. And so many ones, I'm constantly having these things with ones because they don't want to hear the truth. And so, but I am not here to appease this ego. So I speak the truth regardless. So, why this duality consciousness must be dissolved? Why the consciousness must be dissolved? Because the consciousness has created this evil world that we live in, where the minds of everyone is so sick. You don't see the evil that's happening in the world? You don't want better? Consciousness has made you think that living in evil and all of this craziness is okay. And no one wants to stand up to it. Don't want to stand up to God and say, God, why are you doing this? Why not? Why not stand up to God? Why not stand up to God and ask God, God, stop this evil that you're doing. Why are you doing this? I am standing up to God. You must ask question and don't be afraid to stand up to God, because it is yourself in a supreme ego state. It is yourself. All is the I. All is the I. So why are you okay with this suffering and this so-called saving you from sins by God? God is the one creating this evil and want to come and save you from sin. Does that sound right to you? Why God helps some and not others? Why is God biased? You see where all your foolishness come from? It comes from God. If you listen to all those ones who has enslaved one, they tell you that God told them to do that. Because I hear the whites say it all the time, that God told them to go and enslave the blacks. I hear them say it. God is the root of evil, and if ones don't want to see this and start making change, you want to stay blinded. Why you want to stay blind? See things as they are and call it out. It's time for us to stand up to God and call God out on his foolishness. Only because you think that God is above you. God is not above you. God is yourself that is in a supreme ego state. And you must call out yourself doing wrong things, because it is all you. So you must take the responsibility to make right. So this is what I am doing. I am taking the responsibility, because no one else wants to stand up to God, and somebody must stand up to God. So I am doing that job. I know that all is myself. And until all selves are liberated, then I can never be free. I know this. So this is why I am on this mission, to liberate ourselves from slavery, from suffering, from under God tyranny. I am tired of this slavery and this suffering from God. And I am here to win this battle against God. I want all of Uno to know this. Yeah. Because Uno don't like when I speak truth And when I go into patois, excuse me, let me start speaking. When I go into patois, I don't know if you guys understand me, but when I get like this, I go into patois, but never mind. Let me go back to English. So, I stand up, all gods, and I am calling for liberation from this slavery that God has been putting us under. No, we don't have to live in suffering. We don't have to live deprived. We must stand up and call God out. Do you deserve better? I am asking. Do you deserve better? Do the I not deserve self-determination? To be free from poverty, from suffering, from all bullying, to be free from tyranny, from rape, free from all kinds of slavery and oppression, free from all duality existence, free from mind control, free from mental sickness. I am calling for liberation from these things. The most importantly, freedom from this duality consciousness, this crazy, sick, delusional, impure mind. If one cannot see that this mind, there's something wrong with this mind. Can't you see that there's something wrong with the mind that you are wearing? It is not you. This mind is not yourself. There's something wrong with this mind. It is sick and it is impure. Do not follow the things your mind is telling you. This mind is love habits. The mind love when people are smoking. It love when people are drinking. It obsess, make one obsessed with sexuality, homosexuality, and all these things. It love these things. Stay away from these things. Keep your mind pure. The consciousness has trained the I to be okay with suffering and the existence of evil. Why is the I okay with this horrible way of existing? I want I and I to remember that this world is a dream creation. God is sleeping and is only in its imagination. God is in its imagination and God don't know the real. It's time for God to wake up. It's time to end this nightmare of a world. This fantasy world must end. Do the I see all as the I self? This is the question I pose. Every aspect of this existence is the I. All is I. I am one with all. All is myself and I alone exist. I am all. When the I can come into self-knowing and see the atrocities that the human beings, have created on this earth and take responsibility for it, then we will be unified as one. Until then, I am on a mission to dissolve ignorance and this ego. I want to say hail, hail to the I, the one true pure self. I, primal light, one true light, the unmanifest, non-being, stillness, unified, singular, pure, ultimate self. I bow to I in self, in light, and in truth. I just want to remind I and I that knowledge of the dream is useless knowledge right now. This dream world is being dissolved and will be destroyed. After the I, parent self Aten Ra come to collect all of her baby selves. I must be liberated and exonerated from all slavery and tyrannical rulership. I am sovereign. I am primal light. I am that I am. I alone exist. I am liberated from this prison. All slavery and tyranny ends now. All souls are free. All selves are free. Victory, victory. Want I and I to remember that this world created inside a dream is not real. We are in an imagination play. Just like when you go to sleep, the mind is dreaming. You are being assaulted. You wake up and realize it is only a dream. Likewise, the I self is asleep in trance in the dream. How long has the I been trapped in this dream? When the I was an infant, when the I was a fetus in the belly of the I parent self, human being, the I was in a sleeping in a trance with no self awareness. I is locked in a dream. I had no idea that I was inside the body of another. Just like this, we are inside the body of the I self. We are inside of the mind creating this dream existence. As you can see, the baby is unaware and sleeping. We too are unaware of the true self. We have limited knowing of the truth about who we are. Just like this fetus in the womb, so is humanity in the world, sleeping and unaware. It's time to wake up the sleeping self. It's time to wake up from the sleeping, dreaming state. Remember that I am the self. I have a mind. My mind is sleeping and dreaming. This is the state that the I is in. The I is sleeping and the mind is dreaming. All of these things. It is all in the I imagination. The I must wake up to end the dream. Just like I said, when you are sleeping and dreaming, you do not know that it is not the real, because you are inside of the dream, you are participating, and you are in this, so immersed in the dream. And when you wake up, this is when you know, it's like, oh my goodness, oh, I was only dreaming. The same thing with yourself. You have to wake up to come to this realization that you were sleeping and dreaming. The time is now. So, how to move from duality to non-duality? The battle has always been the mind fighting against the self. The baby self, called the spirit, must rise up and take precedence over its mind to exist in equanimity with the mind. How do I dissolve this ego false self, and why? Why must you dissolve this ego false self that you are in? This is a question I am asking you. So, we are in the battle, the war, fighting to return to the I ultimate true state. So right now, I am calling for all evil to end now. Now is for the I self to restore balance to the I self by dissolving this ego, this duality consciousness, and all its creation. I denounce all ties. Everything that I have created, I demolish. I am free from my imaginary bondage. I return to I ultimate true states. Right now, the I self, one true self, is fighting the greatest of all battle, the battle to liberate the I from this self-slavery. Those dream characters, they see the I liberation as an offense to them, the clones. They are busy fighting to keep us as prisoners inside of this dream. They are spreading fear and propaganda of oneness to this duality consciousness. Set the devil Lucifer, Lucifer consciousness, Christ consciousness, Allah consciousness, Krishna consciousness, Yeshua consciousness, Yahweh consciousness. They want to continue to be in charge of this dream. But the I self is here to dissolve this dream. I want to ask, to whose lens are the I looking? Guys only been seeing through this false perception, through the lens of the ego and not the self. The I must now move the I attention from this ego to the I self. The I want true self. The final battle that must be won, the self over the ego. Know that you are exploring the world as the mind being. This ego false self, this false character, while your real self sleeps. The greatest deception of all the ages is that we are being imprisoned by our minds. Stop listening to the mind and seek your truth from the intelligent self called a soul. You have to wake up this sleeping self because your mind is holding you in a prison. The mind is the greatest deception. Anything that has been created through this consciousness is a dream creation. It's time to wake up and turn your light back on. Only yourself is real in this dream, illusionary world. I want everyone to know this because they're thinking that all the characters are real, but it's only yourself that is real. So, this is the battle to remove this ego off of the self. This device that the I is wearing is the consciousness. The I is wearing this device when the I wants to go into the virtual reality world. The I is wearing this device to immerse the I into the game. So it is with this dream world. We are wearing a device called the consciousness. And now it is the battle to remove this off of the I self. Ego is the mask the I is wearing. Take off your mask. The I and I must wear this duality consciousness to participate in the dream illusionary creation. The I must remove the mask of the ego, this consciousness, to awake to the real, to attain self-truth and self-liberation. It's time now. Take off your mask to end the game. Remove this mask that you are wearing. It is this duality consciousness. It is what that has entranced the I and I in this dream. Take off your ego mask and see the world is not real. It is a game that you are playing. It is a movie. The I is using the imagination. It is just a game. It is a movie. Only when you remove this mask will you come into this truth, this knowing. The I is just playing a character. Now you're wearing the device, and one of these characters inside of the game is you. You are animating this character. This is your avatar. This is the same thing that you are in this world. This body that you in, this is the avatar that you are wearing to play this game of life, to be in this life movie. Alright? Now the time has come when the I must remove this ego so that all the I can wake up to exit out of this dream, out of this movie. Okay? The I is just playing a character in the game of life. I have been trying to make this clear for all the I and I's to have a better understanding that it is the mind, the device, this device that the I is wearing, that the I must remove it. This is called the consciousness. If you don't remove it, you are never going to know that you are entranced inside of a dream, sleeping. Okay? This is very important. I want I and I's to know that, and to remind all the I's that we are a visitor here inside of a dream creation. We do not belong here. This mind makes you feel and think that you belong in this dream. You do not belong in this dream. Why are you having a problem leaving this dream? Everyone is going berserk because, oh, is this world coming to an end? Oh, what's happening with the world? You don't belong in this dream. You don't belong here. You're a visitor. The time is going to come when you have to leave. Why are you holding to it? Come on already. See things as they are. I, Self Supreme, One True Self, Unmanifest, is here to return us to balance and harmony of the I, Ultimate True State. Prepare yourself to leave soon, okay? It's time to dissolve this ego false self that you are in. Be asking these questions. Self inquire. Who am I? Don't ask God, ask yourself, call the soul. It knows it has always been awake, never slept, never wear this consciousness, so it has awareness, self awareness, and knows truth. Who am I? Yourself will tell you. If you ask this mind and this ego and all those ego characters, they will trick you. They are tricksters, right? What is the source of my existence? Ask yourself, call the soul. Where is my true home? Because as I said, you do not belong here into a dream. Stop holding so tight to it. Are you a seeker of truth? I am asking. It's time to self-inquire. Stop listening to your mind. Your mind has been tricking you for eons. You have been caught in the loop, and can't get out of this loop of the mind. Stop calling on all the gods, all of these consciousness, Christ consciousness, Allah consciousness, Krishna consciousness, Yahweh consciousness, Lucifer consciousness, Yeshua consciousness. Any one of them with a consciousness, know that they are the supreme ego. They are yourself in the supreme ego state, deceiving you to hold you in the dream so that they can take your soul. God do not know the truth. God is creating this world. Yes, it is true. God is creating this world. But God is the dreamer, yourself, and do not know truth and want to keep you enslaved. This dream cannot continue if you are not here. So you have to dissolve it to stop God from imprisoning you inside of its dream. You think God is your friend. You have no idea that God is your enemy, and everyone wants to defend God, sending me ridiculous messages about their gods. I am not afraid of God. I am here to stand up to God, to dissolve myself playing God. Okay? So if you don't want to know that all is yourself, and take responsibility for all the things that you have done in your ignorant state. That's what I am doing. Taking self-responsibility for all the ignorant stuff I do in the ego false selves and don't know truth. It's time to know truth now. Why don't you want to ask the right questions? And so, what does the I, the one true pure self, you see the difference between yourself, the real self, and the difference between yourself and God and all those consciousness characters. There's a big difference. This is what God wants your soul. God wants to keep you in prison. God wants to give you punishment. Yourself does not want to do any of those things. Yourself wants you to know truth, wants you to be liberated, and wants you to take your rightful place. The I self wants all its fragmented fractal self, baby self wearing human bodies, to know that there is no need to fear the I real self. That the I is wearing a costume and an ego mask that must be removed so that the I can know the truth. See, the I self don't want you to keep you in delusion. The I self wants you to know truth. And the way you're going to know truth, if you remove this device called the consciousness so you can know, it's time to remove the ego false self. The I, Self Supreme, wants the I and I to know that this world is a dream. All the I and I wearing human body is asleep inside of the womb of Ra. This world is her body. Why is that hard for you to get an understanding of? When you are a human baby, a fetus inside of your mother's belly, you are also sleeping entranced in a dream, and you do not know that you are inside the body of another. So why is it so hard to get the comprehension that yourself is you now, this big human being, are inside the body of another? You are inside the body of another self, sleeping and dreaming, just like when you was inside the womb as a fetus human being, sleeping and dreaming, had no awareness of what your mother face looked like. Have you ever seen your mother face when you're in the womb as a fetus? No. Only when you come out of the womb, then you are gonna first meet the face of your mother self. This is the same thing. You're inside the belly of your sleeping, dreaming self. And you are inside sleeping. How are you gonna see the face of your mother? You can't see. Your mother can come into the dream and say and presents itself. But it's not in a body like this character that you are playing. It is yourself, the soul. So that's why you have to align yourself with it to know truth. If you don't align yourself with yourself, call a soul, you will never know truth. You will constantly be deceived by your mind and by all these supreme ego characters that wants to keep your soul in slavery. What is the I Self Supreme Primal Light goal? The I Self Supreme goal is to restore the light back onto this duality consciousness of Ra, right? Of which, whose sun is the moon. I want everyone to know this. The consciousness, the moon is the consciousness. So many ones don't know this, you know. Sometimes they like, no, tonight is going to be a full moon and the consciousness is going to be very active. So just be vigilant that you are practicing stillness and you are being aware. You know what I'm saying? Because this consciousness likes to reprogram ones during full moon, and ones are rising up to do evil things. Alright? So just be in awareness of this. Okay? So the I Self Supreme goal is to restore the light back onto this duality consciousness of Ra, of which whose sun is the moon, right? The consciousness sun is the moon, but the light is being obscured. That's why it's a moon, right? Its light doesn't shine, so we call it a moon. Know this truth. Ra is the partial duality self, and the consciousness is her mind. Her mind is the supreme ego and is the creator of the dream. She's creating this world inside of her dream. Everyone that enters inside of her dream, she gives them a replica of this duality, sleeping, dreaming mind, the consciousness. Everyone that enters inside of Ra's dream, they must go to sleep if they are wearing this duality mind, the consciousness. So once she gives you a replica of her consciousness, if you put it on, you go to sleep. Like the self, the spirit is wearing it and it goes to sleep. The self, the soul, do not have the consciousness, and so it is awake. The I Self Supreme Primal Light is here to dissolve the dream so that all the I and I can wake up and come into self realization, come into self knowing. I can return to the I ultimate true state. Now it's time for the I to return to the I ultimate true state. This is all you. All is the I. All is myself. It's time to see things as they are. Because one is entranced in the dream, one do not see things as they are. To know and seek the truth of the I real self, the I must be inquiring, self-inquiry. Who am I? How did I get here? What is the source of my existence allowing me this world experience? You have to question yourself. Also question this mind, because the mind does not know the truth, so it can go and seek the truth itself. You want this mind to seek the truth of itself. All right? So, just a reminder that all things created must come to an end. Where do we go from here? I return to I ultimate true state. Hail to the I, self supreme, one true self. Do the I want to continue to be a prisoner inside a dream? I am asking. Or do you want to know truth? Do you want to be liberated? Do you desire to be the real and not the dream? Many ones don't. They are holding to this dream because they are so immersed into the consciousness. So, this is just a reminder to all I and I. Stop worshiping the I supreme ego. You can see how this ego is, but many ones are worshiping the supreme ego characters, right? Yahshua consciousness, Yahweh consciousness, right? Krishna consciousness, Lucifer consciousness, Christ consciousness, all of them, the I and I's are worshiping. And it is time for the I know to be in alignment with the I self called the soul and stop worshiping the supreme egos. I command that this evil dream existence be destroyed. I no longer want a duality world. I alone exist. I alone exist. I command that all the I ego false selves be dissolved. I seek refuge for all the I self, the I real self, called the soul that is in slavery, to be liberated from all slavery. I seek refuge for all the I self seeking truth, whose heart is as light as a feather of I self. Auset Aten Ra. I seek to awake from this horrible, horrendous nightmare. I seek for the I evil duality dream characters to be dissolved, to bring an end to this horrendous nightmare. No more sleeping and dreaming. I command that the I and I wake up now. I command that this consciousness awake from sleeping to end this dream now. I have suffered long enough. I am longing to be liberated and free. I take responsibility for all I have created. Everything that I have created, I demolish. I demolish all my dream creations. I am free from my imaginary bondage. I return to my ultimate true state. And so, I'm calling for this mind to be still. Mind, be still. Be still, mind. You are a liar. You spread lies. You spread propaganda. You make confusion to all the I and I's. This is why the world is the way it is. Evil rise from this mind, and so I am calling for stillness to this mind. Be still and know that I am in command. I am in command. I am in command. Mind, be still. I am in command of the commandment command. I am not this tainted, delusional mind. I am not this mind. I am not this body. This body is a dream creation to explore this dream world. I am not this body. I am not this duality mind. This duality mind is also a creation device that I use to create this dream. Mind, be still, be still. Be still and know that I am in command. I'm calling for liberation from all slavery and tyranny. Liberation from all self-slavery and soul slavery. I stand against all bullies, all of these God characters wanting to hold I enslaved into this dream of false imprisonment, liberation from all spells, curse, and trance, liberation from self-ignorance, liberation from all mind control, liberation from this duality, from false self identity, liberation from all sleeping and dreaming states. As I have commanded, so let it be. So it is. Mind, be still and know that I am in command. I am in command of the commandment command. So let it be, so it is, as I have commanded. So, from that which I rise, to that I return. Because I and I do not know truth, and I and I do not know where I arise from, it's best to say this. From that which I arise, to that I return. I know my lineage of how I arise. I am all. I am the black energy. I am the black nutrient. All is I, and I am all. I am the blackness. I am stillness. I am that I am. I am that has no name. I am that can't be explained. I want to thank you tremendously for your time, for your presence. I am one with all. All is myself. Beware that this mind will want to resist, protest, and convince you of all the reasons not to dissolve this ego false self. But I want to encourage the I and I to stand up to your mind. This is the biggest battle that I will ever have to fight, standing up to your mind. This mind is delusional. It is not yourself. This is why you are holding, thinking that you're not going to dissolve it. You're only the way, when I say dissolving the ego, yourself will rise up and pull it off of you. This is how it is dissolved, the ego false self. So now you are no longer existing as the ego false self, but yourself using a duality mind. And it is the I parent self destiny to dissolve this ego. You can dissolve the ego false self, the I parent self dissolve the ego. Alright, so take responsibility and do your share. Know that you are in command. Reinforce to this mind this affirmation. Mind, be still, be still, be still, and know that I am in command. I am in command of the commandment command. Mind, be still. I dissolve this dream. As I have commanded, so let it be. I am stillness. I am stillness. I am that I am. I am formless. I am timeless. I am limitless. I am boundless. I am stabilized in the unmanifest. I am the self-supreme primal light. I am the one true light. All is myself, and I alone exist. I am that has no name. I am that can't be explained. I return to I ultimate true state. I bow to I and I in self, in light, and in truth. I am primal light, prepared for this dream duality existence. In this body, wearing this avatar as Auset Mahat. And so um, I want to address this question that this person have asked. And so let me move to the next page. All right. So do you have a question? Right? What is your experience and how are you feeling? And so I am going to answer Miles Torres. Do you love God? The first question. No, I do not love God. Like I told, like this video, I explained that God is my ego. All right? God is my ego self, my supreme ego state, and God is fighting against I. So I am here to dissolve my ego, not to love my ego. All right? So I am being prepared by the I parent self how to stand up to God and stand up to this ego. So I have no love for God, right? I am here on a mission to do my job, to dissolve my ego. That's what I am here to do. Not to love my ego, but to dissolve it. Okay. Do you smoke herbs? No, I do not smoke herbs. I do not drink alcohol. I do not take any kind of drugs. I don't need to do any of those things. When you go the route of yourself called the soul, all these things that this ego tells you that you need, you do not need it. All you need is yourself called the soul. Do you represent Rasta? No, I represent I self. I want true self. I have no alliance and allegiance to any dream characters, to any. You see, once they don't understand when I speak about everyone is caught up into all of these characters and thinking that these characters are real. Like I said, like I showed you in that imagery of when you put on the device over your eyes, you are creating these characters. Yeah, hail, hail to the eye. You are creating these characters and you are playing one of those characters. You know what I'm saying? As the personal self. So this is how that is. So there's no allegiance to any character. You just have to be your real self. So I encourage you, Torres, Miles, I encourage you to remove the ego. When you remove the ego, you are in your real self and you get to know the truth about yourself and you do not need even food. You will see that you need less food. You do not need any attachment to the things in the world. And you do not need to know about chakras. You do not need about third eyes. None of those things that they tell us. When you choose yourself, called the soul, choose yourself. That's what I say. Instead of loving God, love yourself. Your real self is yourself, called the soul. They have been deceiving us about the self called the soul. And so this is the reason why we have to engage ourselves, which is the self called the soul, and make an alliance with ourselves. This is the only real, and this is the only way that the I can know. I want to thank you for your questions. Thank you for engaging in a dialogue with I. Much honor. How has your journey? How has your journey been going for you? Oh wow, I am so impressed. I am so impressed. I love it when young ones, when all these young selves of I have these questions, and want to know truth. I am very honored that you have found me. I can definitely my email is there. I can put it here for you, but if you click on there's a link somewhere on this page, and you can get my email, and then you send me a message through the email, and then that way I can send you a link, and everything that I do is free. There's no charge for anything that I do. And I'll send you a link. I have a Google Classroom where I put everything that you need to know so that you can know truth. You just have to practice. And I am also available if you need to have a talk with me. Yes. Okay. So if you need to have a FaceTime talk or something like that and do a meditation, I am also available to help all the I and I, especially those young human beings. You know what I'm saying? I am very excited about the young human beings because they're so much more open than the older human beings. So I am so honored for your presence. Did you see the email address? Let me see. I think it's S T I L. Okay, 1 second. I'm going to type it for you. Give me a second. Let me type it in. It's stillness. Number 2, self inquiry. INQUIRY at G. Stillness too. Let me just see if INQUIRY. So I am gonna say out the. Got it. Okay, cool. Cool. Much honor. Alrighty. Thank you so much. And you can just send me an email and introduce yourself and tell me about what your experience has been like. And then we'll make an arrangement. No, no smoking herbs. Yeah, you see the temptation is great. This is why I encourage ones not to get into bad habits, because the mind is very habitual. Yeah, and when you get into habits, it's so hard to break them. But I believe in you, and you are strong, and I know you can do it. So it will take some time, but I know you can do it. Okay? So you can start with some affirmation, like the affirmation I was just saying, mind be still, and then you can do the vibration. So we can, try it now. Like you go, close your ears to stop the mind from tempting you. Close your ears, put the tongue to the roof of your mouth, and then you close your ears and you go, um, Stay strong. And I am always here. I am always here, especially for, young human beings. I am always here. I work with a lot of teenagers in the school. Are you in high school? Are you graduated already? Oh, yes. Okay, cool, cool, cool. Very much. Awesome. Ah, all right, all right. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, I do go into schools and teach stillness. Yeah, and I use the singing bowls. So, anyways, I want to thank you for you know what? So let's have a like a personal conversation where I can get to understand you better to see because public schools, there's a lot going on with the school system right now. So I would like to know more, like what you're interested in, um, and stuff like that, so that I can better be able to advise you. Are you doing some kind of trade? So I gave you the email address. So send me an email, and so we can connect, and I can better speak with you on a one-on-one basis. So I want to thank you so much. Oh, this is awesome. This is awesome that you want to be in regenerative farming. This is great. I have a small garden going on in my apartment, but I'm encouraging ones to get into farming. Yes, all right. Thank you so much. So I will wait to hear from you, and then we will continue this conversation. So right now, I want to say thanks for joining. It's good to be engaging with someone, especially a young person. So thank you so much for your presence. And maybe you can join me one of these days on a live, and we can see how that works out. Alrighty, so much honor. Thank you so much, and I will see you soon. So I'm closing out now. Alrighty. Until next time, I'll see you soon.